Alright, hello everybody. This is another Great Lakes weather update. The time is 7:06 p.m. and it is March 28th. These are sites I'm hoping to see a lot more. This is a shot I took last year from South Haven, and it was some very nice weather that day. Hopefully we'll see more weather like that coming up. Spring is here. It certainly doesn't feel like it outside at the current moment, and it may not feel like it for the next couple of days. Wednesday might feel kind of nice for a little bit, but then some storms will move in, and that is the main topic of today's video. The storms that could potentially be moving through the area. Some of those could be severe, marginally severe. Really, the SPC hasn't really put out any risk factors for that just yet in our area, but model runs do point to maybe a very slim chance for severe weather. It's not likely, so refer to the SPC on that, but something to just be aware of. We'll look at the models and get an eye of how those things are. So before we do that, I want to remind you to subscribe to all of our different platforms on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of those different locations, Truth Social as well. You can scan the QR code in the bottom right hand of your screen to get access to our website that has all of this information on there for you, and you can stay updated on all of the upcoming weather that is coming our way. All right, let's get right into it. I haven't looked at these models really too much as of recently, but I'm gonna just look at them now and see what we can get from them. So this is the Storm Prediction Center's website for Convective Outlooks. Here we have the Convective Outlook for tomorrow. So the potential for severe weather for tomorrow is really not existent for the Great Lakes region, but off to the west is where that system is going to begin to develop, and we may see some thunderstorms on the latter half of tomorrow in the Great Lakes region. Now, I don't think these storms are going to be severe, and the National Weather Service does expect them to not really be severe in the Great Lakes region, but off to the south, once again, there is going to be another potential for a severe weather outbreak, and we're going to look at that with the Day 3 outlook here. Day 3 outlook for Wednesday. Let's boot that up here. They have an enhanced risk on Day 3, so that's a pretty decent risk for a Day 3 weather scenario. So enhanced risk down to the south, same places impacted by that tornado outbreak they had last week are going to see more severe weather once again. So enhanced risk could be upgraded, could stay the same. It's really dependent on how the environment really shapes up. Really, right now, the amount of instability in the atmosphere that looks like will develop for this system is not really that significant. So up in places such as Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, you're not really going to see enough instability to really fuel severe thunderstorms, but maybe enough just to get a pop-up damaging wind potential or something like that in southern Indiana looks like the best bet for severe weather in the Great Lakes region. So those are the two risk areas we have out right now. Let's take a look at the Day 4 one too, because they put out, again, more potential for severe weather and off farther to the north in parts such as DC region, New Jersey, places that saw some really significant severe weather last year as well, and even some flooding. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the videos of the subways flooding in New York City, but I don't know if it's going to be a scenario like that again, but it does look like severe weather is going to be possible along the eastern seaboard on Thursday. All right, let's take a look at the models and get an idea of how these are going to pan out. So, HRR model for the regional. I'm not really going to get into in-depth of the severe weather outbreak down to the south, but it does look like a pretty decent threat to be aware of if you live down in that region. All right, so this is the current time. Again, we're in that cold air mass, 30 degrees outside at the current moment. Going to drop down to 20s, maybe even teens overnight tonight in some spots. Parts in southern Indiana, southern Ohio probably won't get that cold, but they will get pretty cold, unseasonably cold for the time that we are in. So let's push this forward a little bit. Again, that high pressure is really just sitting over the region, giving us some pleasant weather, clear skies, allowing those temperatures to really drive down a little bit. That air mass is just going to sit there. Then we start seeing the warm front begin to lift. You see that warm front starting to develop with those showers moving in. That is what's going to welcome in the warmer air Tuesday evening, more along the lines of Tuesday evening. But we get that rain moving in, and it begins to develop. There is some icing potential in central Michigan from this system, from this warm front that's going to be moving into the area, because we're going to be sitting right along that freezing mark, which means there's going to be icing potential in any part of this region here. So some models are putting out 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice on the northeastern side or the central eastern side of lower Michigan. Places such as the southwestern parts of lower Michigan and northern Indiana won't see that icing, but there is going to be potential for icing as this warm front lifts off to the north and east. So we'll let this progress. Again, you got that ice threat that's building in the central part of Michigan with just some general rain on the southwestern half, and then you can see after this really deep warm air mass lifts off to the north, you got these thunderstorms on the backside that could potentially develop into something for us. So as we progress this HRR model, again, northern Michigan, you're going to see plenty of that ice. Once again, another winter storm for you guys is on the table with this one, similar to the storm last week, except it's going to be more along the lines of ice instead of just snow. So let's continue running this model, and we got that line of storms. The model's not going to go far enough to where we can really get a good idea of how these storms develop, but it is apparent that there's going to be a line of thunderstorms beginning to develop along the western portion, and this is what we're going to need to keep an eye on as these storms begin to move in. If we get a sounding from the front edge of the storm, there is a tornado risk as it's currently forecasted in Illinois. Again, that may be associated with the marginal risk that they put out from the SPC, but we're going to want to keep an eye on this for potential later threat for tornadoes with this line of storms. Again, this model doesn't go far out enough just yet to where we can get an accurate depiction of what's going to happen in the Great Lakes region. So let's move to the NAM. The NAM does have some model runs or model guidance for our area. So let's go back to the same position that we were at before. Again, you have that warm front lifting off to the north and east. It actually puts out a little bit of more additional development of ice before it reaches Michigan. And then the rain, scattered rain showers, maybe a pop-up heavy downpour. And then you got that line of thunderstorms that could be strong moving into parts of the Great Lakes region. Now, this model run puts the strongest portion of the line in central and southern Indiana, as the SPC has said, with the marginal risk. But the latest soundings, don't really project the potential for severe risk as of yet. Really another thing to keep an eye on as this moves through is the redevelopment of thunderstorms on the backside later on Thursday night. Now, looking at this, they do put out a sounding for a marginal severe risk associated with this system in some spots, but it doesn't look like it's going to really cause much of an impact. Maybe just some lightning and rumbles of thunder. There's your marginal severe risk that's being put out. Cloud bases are going to be a lot higher in the atmosphere than they're not going to be super low in the atmosphere, which means tornado risk will be lower as a result. So that's not really a big concern. The big concern is just maybe some rain, some thunderstorms, followed by the potential for, yes, more snow in Michigan and northern Indiana behind this system. Fortunately, it's not going to be as cold of an air mass as we had over the weekend, because that was just bitter cold. But as we get into Thursday, maybe Thursday, we're going to see some snowfall. Snow accumulations won't be too high, but there might be some snow accumulations as a result of this moving in. So that's what that one's showing. Let's go to a single image graphic. Again, this is the Supercell composite graph. So if we look at this and get an idea of the instability or the potential for supercells, not really strong when the line is going to be hitting our area. We got like a 1 in parts of Indiana later on in the night, but not really much coming out in the models concerning severe weather for the Great Lakes region. So if you live in the Great Lakes region, not really a super significant potential based on the current models. And Cape values, again, measure of instability in the atmosphere. Not much instability. The real question is how much instability we're going to get with this system that moves in, because the more instability, the more stronger the threat is, because instability is kind of a factor that's playing a role in how strong or how weak this severe weather potential is. So it looks to me, as of these current models, that the threat for Great Lakes region is not very high. Unless you're in southern Indiana, there is a more instability in that segment of the Great Lakes region. So really, compared to last week, we had that tornado potential in western Ohio with all those tornado warnings that came out. Not really looking as bad as that. So that's probably some good news for those of you that were dealing with the tornadoes in western Ohio last week. So that's pretty much all I wanted to show, but I did want to take a look at the shear, because shear is also, the wind shear is going to be pretty significantly high with this system as it moves in. Right there, this wind shear is pretty intense, associated with that low pressure system. And wind shear is going to have a role to play in the development of severe weather. That's really the main factor that's contributing, the really strong environment, kinematic environment that we have for these storms. Not really the terms of instability, the sunshine, the moisture, just the wind fields and the structure of the wind in this system is pretty impressive. So that's why they're putting out a potential for severe weather with it. So that's going to, with wherever this wind shear lands, and if we get more instability, is going to determine whether we see stronger thunderstorms or not. But that's pretty much all I wanted to show in regards to the potential for severe weather. If you have questions about it, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe if you learned something from this video. Hopefully you did. Again, make sure you refer to the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center for an official forecast. I'm just here giving you what the models say, but SPC and NOAA would be the sources to go to for official forecasts. So check them out, and make sure to stick with us on all social media platforms for weather updates based on all of the stuff that's going to be taking place. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you again.